house has a pretty long history of experiences like this, going back maybe to the 1970s. You'd mentioned a realtor that had an experience here, which is really the first one that you've heard about, isn't it?
Yeah, the first one that we've documented. He was a realtor, and I don't know which realty he was with, but he had an appointment, and it started to rain. So he came to the door after he saw a newspaper article, and he asked if he could talk to me, if he could show me. And he was kind of hesitant to come in the house, but he did tell me the story. He gave me his business card, and I wrote the little story in the back of the card. And he had said that he came for an appointment at 6 o'clock, and it was raining. So he came in the house, and he stood in the hallway, and he said it was thundering and lightning, and he noticed an image of a woman in a white dress, and it went from one bedroom door across the hall into the other bedroom door. And he said he was so frightened he got disoriented. Instead of running out of the house, he ran the other way, and he ran into one of the front rooms. And he says as he stood in there, he saw blue balls of light that were dancing. He said he called it the board, but there's a picture rail that runs around the walls in the front room. And he said he tore off out of the house. He wasn't even sure if he had locked the door. And when he went home, he said to his wife, "Today I've been in a haunted house." And he said he would not show it. If it ever came up again, he wouldn't show the house.
Fascinating. And you'd mentioned an experience you had more recently upstairs with a dark form that you'd seen.
Bob was upstairs shutting off some lights, and he called up to me, and he said he could feel something upstairs. And he went down the stairs, and I went up the stairs. And I got up to the top of the stairway. I had my hand on the newel post, and I turned to my right, and it was black, and it was menacing, and it was already starting to dissolve. But it was probably 6 foot.
And you had mentioned an incident that Leah had in the same room where the apparition was seen in the mirror.
Yeah, Leah woke us up about 2 o'clock one morning and pounded on our bedroom door and startled us both awake, Bob and I. And we went into the hall, and she was standing there. She was white, and she was shaking. She said, "There's a man in my room." So we flew up the stairs and put on all the lights, and nobody was there. And we looked around the entire upstairs and went downstairs. And Leah was in the living room. We said, "Leah, what happened? What did you see?" And she said, "He was a man. And he was right there. He was right there in my face, and he was talking to me." And I said, "What did he say?" And she said, "He was inside my head. He was like bells and whistles inside my head." And I said, "Well, why did that scare you?" And she said, "Because he laid on me and he wouldn't let me up." So she slept on Dana's floor for 2 nights, and she got her job back in Lakeland, and she moved. And she never came back. I mean, she never came back to live with us or stay with us. And it was years before she would come and come for a holiday. She'd stay up all night. She'd buy videos and stay up all night long so she wouldn't fall asleep. And she still has some misgivings about coming to the house.
Let's take a look at some of the equipment that's typically used in parapsychological field investigations. In here we have a variety of instruments that are handheld and easily portable. Several of these are magnetometers. They're used for measuring environmental, magnetic, and electromagnetic fields. This is one of the most commonly used by investigators. It's called a tri-field meter. It has 2 settings for magnetic field measurement and also settings for electric fields and radio microwave fields. We also have this magnetometer, which is a digital magnetometer. It's a lot more sensitive than the tri-field meter for measuring environmental electromagnetic fields of various frequencies. And then we have this thermal scanner. It's called the Raytech Ranger. It looks something like a gun. By pointing it and pulling the trigger, you can take a temperature measurement from up to 30 feet away. It's also self-illuminated, so it can be used at night. This would be for detecting cold spots or other temperature anomalies within an environment. We have a device here that's an air ion counter. This is for detecting electrically charged particles in the air, and you can actually detect either positively or negatively charged particles by adjusting the device. And we also have a geomagnetometer, which is used for measuring the Earth's magnetic field, somewhat different than the electromagnetic fields. The Earth's magnetic field tends to be about 500 milligauss at this latitude, but using this device you can take measurements in localized areas to see if the Earth's magnetic field is distorted in any way. Sometimes such distortions are associated with the paranormal phenomena. Found frequently that in areas where haunting type phenomena is reported, people see apparitions and experience poltergeist activity. Often there is an increase or an unusual electromagnetic or geomagnetic field associated with that site, whereas the average might be 2 to 10 milligauss. In areas where people report apparitional and haunting phenomena, we might get surges of 40, 50, 80, or even over 100 milligauss at times. So I think that it's important for the parapsychological field investigator to utilize technology to measure electromagnetic fields in the environment. But it's also very important to be cautious, because many types of electrical appliances, of course, generate their own electromagnetic fields, as do the wiring in the walls themselves. So you have to be careful when you're using an instrument like this that you're not actually measuring the magnetic field generated by an overhead fluorescent light, for example, or a digital clock, or even electric wiring in the walls itself. Now, I'm getting an electromagnetic field measurement here of almost 23 to 25 milligauss. And so under normal conditions, one might think that you had a paranormal anomaly occurring here. But by looking on the other side of the wall, you can see that the refrigerator in the kitchen is actually located right there. And of course it has an electric motor, it has electric wiring, and that's what's generating the powerful field that's being registered here. A typical wall like this will provide very little modulation or very little shielding against an electromagnetic field. It passes right through the wall. So what we're measuring right here is actually the electromagnetic field produced by the refrigerator. So the investigator has to be very careful about the types of measurements that you're taking. Generally, you want to try to take measurements in all four walls, or near all four walls of the room, and also in the center of the room, so that you get a better idea of what the ambient electromagnetic field measurement would be. The tri-field meters, although extremely popular with many field investigators, have a serious handicap because they do have this limitation of frequency range. Unless the paranormal energies that we're trying to measure are both electromagnetic in nature and also occur within or around the 60 hertz frequency range, then the investigator isn't going to pick up anything. So it's quite possible to be in the presence of a ghost or an anomaly which generates a strong electromagnetic field and not be able to register it on the tri-field meter because of this limitation. If it doesn't happen to be within that frequency range, then you're not going to pick up anything at all. Now that you've had the opportunity to meet the Kosickis and learn about some of their experiences, let's conduct a complete investigation of a place that's associated with some more frightening phenomena. Bobby Mackey's Music World, sometimes known as Hell's Gate.
Well, I met her in a nightclub over on the Lower East Side. I was working with my head down, trying to keep the groove alive. She looked like a bunny out of Playboy magazine. I just had to meet her, she was the cutest thing I'd ever seen.
I was invited to conduct a scientific investigation of the strange occurrences at Bobby